Tea Talks episode. My name is Jes'ka Washington. I am the host. And I'm just going to be authentic and honest. I mean, we're going to start this one. I have feelings that we're going to just talk and get into some great debates, discussions, or whatever it is. But I'm going to say this part right now. We've been talking about the black male perspective. You've been catching this series. And I've invited two wonderful guests to join me on this conversation.
Hi, yeah. I'm Robert. Been in Dubai now for coming on 7 years.
7 years, okay. Yeah. You're from?
London.
Okay, and then we also have?
Jeffery, Mustafa Smith. I'm from originally from Maryland. I've lived in the UAE for 12 years now.
Wow, so the very first piece that I really want to kind of touch base on is that I'm talking to some Dubai veterans. You've kind of been here.
Yeah, veteran, yeah.
Well, I mean, because if you don't know, Dubai tends to be a transit city, and a lot of people look at coming here for just a moment and then leaving. And then there's others who come here to turn around and really gain an opportunity, I'm going to say, to better or create or build themselves and take that into the world. What are your goals in doing that?
Okay, I'll go first. I initially came out here working in finance.
Okay.
I've always been in finance. I kind of stumbled into the profession from London coming here. It was just something I just finished college doing, sport and exercise science, physiotherapy. But as I was doing that in school, I kind of kept on, I was working for a finance company, I kept picking up their qualifications. So when I finished my sport, I'm now a finance professional. It's like so weird. So I just fell into finance. While I was doing finance out here, I realized how crooked it really is. That's another subject for another day.
Another day, okay.
But I had to come out of that.
Okay.
So I set up, back to my roots, I set up a sports training company. So I teach children now how to be athletes.
Wow.
So I saw what was available to children currently. And there's a massive component missing when you train children for soccer, American football, basketball. There's no training on athleticism and how to keep them healthy. Okay. So my company is all about dealing with that for children. So when you speak about the opportunity, I saw that and I kind of ran with it.
Okay, I like that, but I wanted Jeff to kind of tap in on your journey out here.
Sure. Well, I came out in 2008, and I was working for a large international education franchise, Sylvan Learning, and I was managing director of a center in America. And when the financial crisis hit, it would just happen to be a time where centers were beginning to open in the Gulf region, and I was recruited to come out and get it started. I initially thought I would come out for 2 years, give it a try, get a taste of international environment and see how it goes. But when I got here, I initially learned that there was a whole nother world outside of America that was far more appealing to me. I learned that it's about relationship building and things such as integrity, trustworthiness, and honesty meant a lot and could get you very, very far. And so I was able to leverage some relationships very, very quickly and grow, and moved up the corporate ladder, if you will, a lot quicker than I ever would have in America, where I found that skin color, even though racism does exist internationally, it's more about nationality. And if you peel back the layers, as long as you're a good person and you can meet the big, leverage the right relationships, you can still move forward. Nothing has to hold you back.
So when you talk about that, and we kind of talked about, like, there's a truth. Is there racism internationally? Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And I do think that we focus a lot of time now because what we're doing is we're seeing it boil over in America. And we're seeing it, and America has always had the stage of being able to be frontline on the videos, frontline in that. But there is a truth, and I want to say starting to be peeling at other doors of no, this country you do it too. You guys do it too. This is where you hit it. And there's just a conversation about blackness getting their equity worldwide.
Well, racism is definitely everywhere. it's a lot more overt in certain places. We're seeing a lot of that now coming out of America. Well, we've been seeing that coming out of America. It's come to a boiling point now for Americans. Internationally watching that, from my perspective, it's always been heartbreaking.
Okay.
It's always been heartbreaking. I mean, we touched on this before the cameras were rolling, about how it didn't get to this stage when the children were affected, when Tamir Rice was, taken from us in that situation. I don't understand how we didn't get to this boiling point back
Before.
then.
Okay.
So watching it all the time, I've always said, even when I first came out 6-7 years ago, there was this, the same situation. The brother was saying, I can't breathe. And there was a stupid online challenge going on with people got to throw ice on their head, ice buckets on their head. People put me for that challenge. I'm like, get out of my face with that. We have real problems in the world that need to be addressed, not throwing ice on me. I don't understand how, I feel, I'm not American, but I feel the pain. I really feel the pain. I think I speak for a lot of black people of the diaspora looking in and saying, yo, we feel the pain. And we want to do as much as we can to help our black American brothers and sisters.
Yeah, I'll agree. And I compare racism, white supremacy, if you will, to a virus, a cancer that sometimes it's asymptomatic, where you walk around and you really aren't affected by it. And sometimes you get beat upside the head with it, or you get shot by it, or you lose a job from it, and it becomes very, very real. But I didn't realize how much I was affected by racism until I left America.
Okay.
Things such as riding down the road and have a police officer riding behind me that used to freak me out, back in America.
100%.
Literally have both hands on the steering wheel and will you please just go around, All that went away. And I've had, a couple of interactions with police officers here, and the first time it ended with he and I taking a picture together, and a nice little exchange about brotherhood and everything, and it's always been very, very pleasant. Even I had a car accident, it was still a very pleasant exchange. It's like, it's okay, brother, it's only a car, I'm just glad you're all right, alhamdulillah. I don't understand why that just can't be a norm anywhere. He doesn't know, I'm not even from his country, so we're not only a different race, but we don't even speak the same language, but we had this connection that I think everybody should have, especially if you're...
Since this is your now reality, 12 years here, and 6 years, are you a different person from before?
I would like to think so. I think everyone's got to grow and evolve. The more information you're privy to, the more experiences you have, the more exposure to wisdom you're around, you naturally have to grow and develop. Going back to the whole race situation, I've always been someone who has not only just lived the injustice, but I've seen it. I've grown up as a first generation Londoner. I'm originally from, my parents are from the Caribbean. So we know all about systemic racism. We know all about our leaders. I was brought up listening and hearing the teachings of Marcus Garvey. So I know about what we should be doing. I know about the things that will happen in my lifetime. I've seen it through my elders in my family. I've seen the problems we can go through. I've witnessed it with popular culture. I'm saying again before we went on camera that Black America has set the cultural tone for the diaspora. You were the leaders. You have done everything. You gave us so much. Not that other places didn't, but you were the front runners for a lot of things. So when we, as a Londoner, looking in at America, we were influenced by the music, we were influenced by the art, we were influenced by the movies, we were influenced by the celebrity. So when we watch all of these injustices, and it's kind of depicted in the art itself. The rappers, they rap about it. The movies, they're made about it. But when I said before that it's kind of a distraction, in most of those art forms, there's no speak of solution.
Okay.
And that, I always noticed that growing up, there was no talk of solution. It was just the art form of, right, well, here's the racism.
Expressing and getting it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to know how to fix this.
Right.
So that has led me to want to, going back to your growth and development point of view, that's led me to want to research and how do we find a solution for that? I hope that makes a bit of sense.
I think that makes a bit of sense. And then there's this wake up that I talked to my brother, and he's talked to my cousin Jeff, and they were talking about how they grew up, and my cousin Jeff grew up in a primarily white area, but he listened to Rage Against the Machine. All of his friends listened to Rage Against the Machine. And so now they're coming back and saying, hey, is this how you're feeling? And he's like, dude, we listen to the same music. Like, when I was listening, what were you hearing? And we were talking about, and I think that's one thing that's very unique, is that here it is that you're in London or in Caribbean, and we're producing this music, and you hear it, and you get it, and you feel it. And then all of these artists who've gone platinum, and you know, they said the same things, like, did you not hear the lyrics? If it was Michael Jackson, they don't really care about us. He still was saying the same thing. And we talk about the movies, and I think that's one thing that's frustrating for me, is that people are now coming like, hey, which movie should I watch? And I'm like, I don't watch 200 of them since age 7.
Sure.
Pick one. And all of those things. We gave you the tools to let you know we're angry. And where do we go from that? We've dealt with that. We've done that. Yeah. And so even when you were talking about now and internationally, we're having this big wake-up call, but we've been up.
Yep.
You were asleep.
Yep. Yeah. I think for me, and Robert talked about this before we came on the air. And
I'm going to have to say this officially. I will start playing a camera now for all the conversations we had before we come on air, because we keep on referencing it. But go ahead.
Now we've got to be proper in front of the camera.
I know, like, ugh.
Well, the best growth and development that we can make for ourselves right now is planting seeds for the next generation, and making sure that we are establishing a foundation for them. And I think that's critical, that's crucial. And in all the decisions that we make, it has to have a consideration for who's going to come after us, whether they're our own flesh and blood or whether they're just the next generation of children who may want to travel internationally and work, or even have opportunities back in the States. We have to really always consider, how is this impacting the next generation?
True. Now, having an impact on the next generation, they've got to first and foremost see that the elders have a strength and a solidarity about
I agree. I totally agree with that.
Now, going back to my earlier point about the arts, the movies, I remember growing up watching Boys in the Hood. I loved that film.
Okay.
I really, really loved that film.
Ricky! I'm sorry, okay.
That bit broke my heart. Even as a kid watching it.
Ricky! Okay.
That really broke me. In that film, that was about gangbanging. Well, it wasn't just about gangbanging.
It was a lot.
It was a
lot.
It kind of centered around, the violence was about gangbanging.
Yeah.
And the injustice around that and what led to boiling point. With what's going on now, I look at America and I see all this injustice, and I'm watching the scenes through the news and social media and whatever, and I'm like, where are these gangbangers now? I'm telling you, Londoners look at America. I can't speak for all Londoners.
Yeah.
But the dudes I talk to, we look at American men.
Yeah.
Not all. I can't say all because there is a lot of fighters still in there. Where are the gangbangers now? Protecting who needs to be protected. Where are they? I've seen recently they're stepping up. Thank God for that. They've grown, they found their pair and they're doing their thing. But before, when all of these things were happening, where were they then?
Well, you know, in the midst of all of this racial tension right now, and police just pretty much at will going out and beating each other senseless, all the guns and all the firepower in Chicago were still just pointing at each other. every weekend in every major city. It just shows how lost we are as a people, and how, you know, you can be as violent as you want to, and it's tough if you want to, but if you don't have any knowledge and understanding of who you are, and it doesn't matter. It just shows the depth at which white supremacy has really hurt us and injured us as a people. There was a meme going around that I saw the other day, and it's George Zimmerman, who murdered this little boy, this 17-year-old child, and he's going around the country signing autographs on Skittles bags, almost mocking the murder that he got away with.
The woman who did the shooting in Tulsa, you're about to get mad, so just, and shot the brother, has actually been doing workshops on how to avoid getting in trouble as a police officer regarding police brutality.
These people are making money off of the murder of our people. Meanwhile, the young man who shot and killed Nipsey Russell, the gangbangers took revenge on his family, and I think they've murdered several members of his family and had them living in, and again, I saw this on a meme, so I don't know it to be completely accurate.
Right. But
those people live in fear, you know, because Nipsey Hussle was such a...
Well, I'm waking up here and catching what you're saying, and you can tell me if I'm paraphrasing it wrong. It's that there is a betrayal, almost, feeling of that the people that we were taught to be fearful of, the ones that are going to go out and get revenge, the ones who, if you come to me like this, I'm going to come to you like this.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? The ones where I'm like, oh, let me not step on your shoe because you big and bad. The portrayal of what in black communities we were like, hey, you better know, Junebug crazy. Now it's time to get crazy. Where are you? And I say that's a betrayal because it's like, now that we have people on the front line over something that matters, why are you in the back? And then who are these people on the front line? Because one thing, and we're going to talk about the seeds that have been planted, is that a lot of the people who are activists and saying things are people who I didn't know their names. And I'm just happy about them. There is the brother from Insecure, who's Nathan on Insecure, don't ghost Issa, but he's out there front line every day calling out policemen, don't kneel, this is what you said the other day, how about you do this? And he's posting things. I'm gonna mess up his name because he's from London, and he was, oh my God, I did not know the power behind that brother. And
that is the essence of blackness that is in the, I want to say the UK, but I know that is the essence of Londoners. I know that Londoners do not play.
Yeah.
It's happened before where the police murdered a black man for whatever stupid reason they gave. Mark Duggan. This happened a few years before I moved out, so it must be 8-9 years ago now. When that happened, London burnt down, and the energy went to every major city around England. They didn't play. When I say they didn't play, we did not play. We was out there and we was tearing the whole place up until we got justice, because I was going to curse there.
No, PG.
The narrative the media tried to feed us
was not
what it is, and that is a story that always plays out when we hear about these atrocities in America.
Yeah.
That cannot be allowed to slide. I don't care about the judicial system. I don't care about this.
Fix it now.
You got to break the system. If certain people that were big and bad because you stepped on my shoes are not standing up and protecting their communities, I was going to swear again. I'm so passionate about it. They've got to stand up and be heard now.
Well, I think that what I can say, hopefully for you, is that this is not the time to play around. This is the time for us, and when I say us, the blackness. We have the platform. There are things, there are chains that must be broken. We cannot allow for our representative to go up there anymore and do it.
You can though.
Wait a minute, I'm saying we need to put our representative and a force behind them to say that we will not stand for this. We will not stand for this. This does not work. And we have enough of a platform that other people are joining in. But I do think, and I like that piece, that we need to call out how dare you turn around and say this, or how dare you go on that, how dare you go on Instagram with stacks and stacks and stacks of money, and you not here for this. Did your money go to bail somebody out?
Right.
What? Because that's the other piece. What part of the movement are you? You don't have to be on the front lines if you bailing out people out the systems. If you're turning around and you're doing
credit to a lot of people that I follow online. They're American. They are actually using their own resources to bail people out. They're using their own resources to fund we call them lawyers, solicitors, to fight the legal battles for these wrongly incarcerated black men. There's a lot of situations going on like that. So there is a lot of people fighting the fight, and they've been doing this even before these recent situations. They're just now coming, they're more coming to light, more people are stepping up to do that. Again, going back to that point, on the front line, you do need that fight. And those people that are so idle, they don't want to do anything else with their time apart from bringing violence to their own. Right. Now bring violence to where violence is needed. Change can really happen, but the change needs to happen from a position of solidarity. I'm not just talking about coming together. You mentioned it, but it kind of ties in what you mentioned before about the next generation. We spoke about it before. We need to create a platform that is beneficial for our next generation. When I say that platform, I'm not just talking about just throwing money at something and hoping someone else does something about it.
Right.
We got to create jobs for our next people, for our next generation.
Absolutely.
We've got to equip them well enough with the education of self and the education, the skills needed to fulfill that job. We don't need to be going to their institutions and getting their little piece of knowledge.
Well, and I'm going to say this from a very selfish point, is that there were at one point 118 historically black colleges and universities. And at this point in time, we're about 98 because they have gone under for funding. We do not have to go to their institutions, but we do have to fund our own.
Right.
We do have to take care of our own. The systems that we do have in place, we got to trust and love them enough to make them work.
Right.
And then the other piece of it is, for me, and I think about this when I talk about the NAACP, you have to let the elders train up somebody else to take your place. You can't hold on to leadership so long that we have crippled the system. And I say that even when I talk about HBCUs, because a lot of our HBCU units, our alumni associations or our financial aid offices are being held by people who are 20 years in the game, and you won't let that newcomer come in and do social media things or do things like that. We have to honestly love each other enough to raise each other up to be better than the next. And we have this philosophy when it comes to our own children. We raise our children to be better than I was.
Right.
But we haven't done that for our community.
I agree. Yeah. I think for too many civil rights and politics, I look at the people that have been in Congress for 10, 15, it's become too much of a career and not enough of a movement where it's actually affecting change. It's
never going to affect change.
It's too comfort. It's too
never
comfortable.
going to affect change because the system is. Forgive me if I'm going back to what you were saying.
Because I will say it can do change, but go ahead.
It's not. It's rigged to work against you.
Okay, so
Black Americans.
All right, so this is where.
Now we know
go
this.
Ahead.
I have been a big follower of Dr. Claude Anderson for years now. He's got a great book out there. You guys must watch it. It's called Powernomics.
Yeah.
It's a phenomenal book. It gives you the blueprint on how to raise. I say yourself. I'm talking about Black Americans, but it's a Powernomic situation for the diaspora. It speaks on how you raise as a collective out of this situation, and it all starts with economy. It all starts with trust. It all starts with business. Now, I can speak personally out here, running my business. I have one black child that I train. Two. On a regular basis. All other races support me because they witness what their child is getting is the best. It's benefiting them almost from day one, and they stick with it. I have a very, very, very small drop-off rate. Where's my black people supporting me? I feel personally there's no unity amongst us. I feel it directly.
I'm not
there's
gonna-
no unity there.
Yeah,
That narrative, that mindset needs to change.
I agree.
I agree.
I'm 100% for supporting a black business. 100%. But if I know you like to go and frequent brunches, or you like to go and wear Gucci, Vuitton, or whatever they're called, I will not support you because your priorities are wrong. You're not thinking about who's coming behind you. You're thinking about you right now.
But I think that goes back to where, if you're discussing everything and what you're asking for, is that if I am bounded to support you, come back and support us. And it's the whole FUBU, for us, by us, and to create that.
Your money has to, sorry to cut you, but your money has to bounce in between your communities 6, 7, 8, 9 times. You've got to look at the Jews, you've got to study the Jews, you've got to study the Italians, you've got to study the Irish. Look at the Irish when they come out here. They're like, where is the Irish pub? Where are my Irish people? They come together and they stay together. The pub is their place where they all congregate. They fund the pub, they support the pub. The pub then supports their initiatives, whether it be a trip somewhere or their sports team or what type of restaurants they frequent. The pub supports that because that's where most of the money goes into, and it supports their community. So
I'm touching into a base, and I'm going to say this now because we're getting ready to close this conversation up. But what you asked for earlier, and what Jeffery has also been able to do, is that we're starting to talk about the solutions. We can spend so much time talking about the problems.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest with you, there are a lot of problems, to the point where if you constantly talk about the problem, I mean, one, you got mental health issues and you're getting bogged down, and you get so busy just shifting that you can't figure it out because you're trying to authenticate every single problem. But we have to start looking at least through some of those problems and finding a light to say, this is a solution. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to try to do. And can we start having those conversations of what can happen? Can we first start looking at those businesses where we do need to fund our money to take care of it? Can we start talking to those Congress people to be able to make those changes? Because I disagree with a little bit here, and I'm going to say my piece. If you're looking for America to be the America you want it to be, the only way it's going to happen is through the legal system. So if you're going to dedicate yourself to being in America, you need to get into the judicial system, the legal system, and get the laws changed. There are too many laws with ambiguous language. There are too many people who are making the laws and nobody's at the table. So if you believe in America, if you refuse to leave, you have the right. But you're not going to get what you're asking for until the right people are making the right decisions at top and they dismantle it there. Because they don't have to care about you. And I'll say this piece, because America is bigger than those inner cities where you see things happen. America is much bigger.
They've redlined you on purpose. They've redlined you on purpose.
But when I say it's bigger, it's not just a red line. I'm from Oklahoma. That is an entire state. And everything is in one place. In order to make the state make changes, you have to move it at a legal end because other people are not ready to hear it. And I'm saying that's my personal opinion, which I mean is, don't be so upset with the system that you're not going to vote. Don't be so upset.
Who can you vote for if your money?
We're not going to do this. We're not going to do this. Because remember, and I stated everything in the beginning on, if you're going to trust in America, if you're going to ask for these things, participate in them. If you're not, don't.
But see, right now, aside from showing up on a day in November and voting, I don't see how we're participating. We have pretty much, we're going to push Biden into office with absolutely no conditions. He's made absolutely no assurance to the black community other than I will defeat Trump.
There is no condition.
So what has shown right now, so what I'm showing right now is that in this last minute, there's still more conversation. There's still more talking.
I will say
say it in 15 seconds.
If we go over, if your money
there's no
back,
if we go over.
It's okay, but I'll say this and then we'll go over it. You need to put your money where your vote is. We need an economy in order to have our politicians. If you don't have an economy,